Okay, so we're gonna do our skill builder using chalk pastels. So the biggest drawback to chalk is that it is messy. So if you don't like getting your hands messy, then this might not be the best media for you. So here's the chalk bin. You can tell a lot of the times in a chalk bin the colors kind of get transferred onto one another, so everything kind of becomes this gray color, but once you get them on the paper they show up in their nice pretty colors. Okay, so our first thing is we have to change our pressure, and remember with changing pressure you're also changing value. So you can, there's two ways to use oil or chalk pastel. You can draw with the tip of it, okay, or you can use the side. So this says soft, so I'm pressing pretty soft. And here I'm using the side, using a light pressure. Now hard, you can definitely see the difference there. Okay, all right. Now with chalk, what I just did there is actually a big no-no. You will get dust. So instead of blowing it, because once you blow the dust, it gets into the air, and then we all start breathing in that dust. What you want to do is you want to kind of collect the dust on your paper, walk it over to a trash can, and kind of dump it out in the trash can, okay? All right, so here it says mix with white. So I'm going to put some chalk down, and then I'm going to take a white, and I am going to layer that white on top of it. And that also will help create your value. So let's try it with a different color. So I'm having a darker blue into a lighter blue, or a darker kind of hot pink here into a lighter pink. And you can do that by layering a white pastel on top of the color. You can do that also with black. So you have your color, take a black, layer that color, and that's how you can create heavier values. Now when I use black to show darks, I like to do a little bit of blending, so I take my finger and I kind of soften up my marks here. So this is why I get my hands super dirty when I use chalk. Okay, I'm getting a little bit too much dust. All right. Now, look here. My hands are dirty. I just touched the paper. Fingerprints. You want to avoid fingerprints as much as you can when you're creating art. You can use your big erasers, and those can help to get rid of those fingerprints. But please, please be mindful about that. Okay, next is feathering. So feathering is kind of just like hatching, like you just kind of go back and forth with colors. And this is, you can do this with a lot of different types of media. Very pretty. Good way to show motion, good way to show texture. I like to layer colors when I do feathering. Now this says layer 2 or more colors. So I'm going to layer a color down. And then I'm going to layer a color on top and see what happens. And I'm going to kind of play. So I'm going to do this color over here. So I'm kind of getting like a yellowy, orangey kind of color happening. Let me see what happens if I do a pink. And I can even put that a little bit on top of the orange over here. See what happens. Okay, let's see what happens when I use a blue. That'd be good for shadows, something darker in the distance. Layer a red-orange with a blue, gives you a nice cool looking gray. I kind of like that. See what happens if I use a green. Ugh. So clearly that doesn't work too well. I don't like that one. Okay, so now I can discover kind of what happens when I layer colors, and if you want to keep on layering. Ah, now that's pretty. That adds a lot of depth. And I'm just exploring here. Very fun. These are super fun to play with. Okay, now scumbling. Scumbling is when You kind of make these circular marks. And I tie it into feathering because when I do scumbling, I do like to layer colors. This would be good for texture again, or flowers, grass, a field, something like that. It's a good way to show that. And this says experiment with chalk pastel on black paper. So you're going to go get a piece of black paper, and I want you to discover what chalk can look like on black. So it gives a really cool effect on black paper. It always reminds me of like, think of like an arcade or like a skating rink where the lights are out and everything's kind of neon and bright. You can even show value. So on black paper though, the dark comes from the black, where the color is actually your lighter. So I just want you to explore, see what you can do here, and if you can come up with any cool ideas maybe for future artwork where you use chalk and black paper. It's always one of my favorite techniques because it always turns out pretty neat. Okay, and we'll just glue that on right there. Alright, so this is how you would experiment using chalk pastel in our skill builder.